Hi guys, welcome to Tech Check. Saaj here. Hey, so I know I posted on Instagram asking about buying and leasing cars, and I had a bunch of people actually give me a good response. So let me get right into it. So one big pain a lot of people have is buying and leasing cars, and I'm going to talk to you about buying a car. So I'll do another episode on leasing later, and this is specifically for buying a new car. There's other factors for used cars. I can do a separate one for that. So with that said, let's get right into it. Some things you need to remember when buying is the following. So you don't want to rush into getting a car. Cars are one of those things that are very useful, but they cost a lot, and at the same time they lose money. So you are really investing into something that is going to depreciate. Now you want to make sure you think about this, because I would say average time from thinking about buying a car and then actually buying the car, from doing the whole process of researching and communicating, test driving, negotiating, it's about 2 to 3 weeks. That's how it usually takes me. It takes me that long from when someone says, "Hey Sajan, I want to buy a car, can you help me out?" and to actually having the car done, written, registered and everything. So now don't decide that one day you're going to go to a dealership to buy a car and just walk out with one, because you're not going to end up with a good deal. And if you do, you really don't care about saving money. You're that desperate to get a car. And I know that sometimes you need a car right away, but sometimes it's better if you just for the 2 or 3 weeks probably rent a car or get a ride or use Uber. It could end up being cheaper than actually just rushing on a car, just because it's depending on the car that you buy, you can probably save a lot of money. Dealers will know when you're rushing or desperate and will use that to their advantage. So 4 key things that I use to buy a car: research, communicate, test drive, and negotiate. All right. So research. First thing you do is research. What car do you want? Also look into how much you are planning to put down. What is your monthly budget? What is your method of payment? If it's financing, where will you do that? I'll talk about financing at the end of the episode. It's it kind of varies for everyone. Now make sure you include a budgetary number in your budget for insurance, gas, maintenance. It's easy math. If anyone has any question, I can give them help on that. Now, after you know what car you want, start by researching the prices. So one tool that I use is TrueCar.com. There are other tools out there, but I usually use TrueCar.com. And what that does, it tells you what other people in your area got the same car for. Now, be mindful, such as options, other factors, and such as trade-ins and incentives. Not everyone's going to get the same trade-in. If you're not a veteran, you're not going to get the veteran trade-in. If you're not a recent student or graduate, you're not going to get that incentive. So you want to make sure that when you see some of these prices, you can't just say, "Oh, that's what I'm going for." You can that's a great goal, but at the same time, it's some of these prices, sometimes it's estimated, but you want to make sure that these incentives or trade-ins are kept in mind. On TrueCar, you can actually have other dealers contact you. So that's what I do. You should do that. Have other dealers get your price. They'll ask you, all the local dealers here. Ask them for the best out of the door pricing. So what that is that you're basically asking them to include the price of registration, tax, fees, all of it, with the price of the car, so you get a final total. Main reason why you want to do that is because the fees vary by the dealer and the tax will vary by the price that they give you. Now you want to make sure that every single car that is picked has similar package. If you pick a car with package A, Y, and Z, you want to make sure that the other car that you're looking at that has a price is also same car with A, Y, and Z. be mindful of some colors are premium colors, so the MSRP is a little bit more on some of these. You also want to make sure that if the dealer gets in touch with you, and usually it's by email, I do prefer email contact, you want to make sure that you can just respond back to them saying, hey, this isn't really the car that I'm looking for. The car that I'm looking for is such and such with package X, Y, and Z, and they will give you that price. That we usually call that internet pricing, and I think that's one of the greatest things that actually exists today. One thing that they will ask you, or sometimes they won't, but sometimes they will, they'll ask you if you have a trade-in, or how will you finance, and I really don't like to answer that. You shouldn't answer those. Just tell them you haven't decided yet. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to continue the communication. So you can continue the communication via email. But if you have probably 4 to 6 prices, it might be a good time to go to the bottom lowest 2. So you'll contact the dealer with the lowest price and see if they can go lower. It doesn't hurt. If they don't, you can contact the second lowest and let them know that you're getting a better deal and you're willing to work with them if they can offer you a better price, right? So, hey, I got a deal for $30,000. You're charging, your price is $32,000. Can you match that, or can you beat it? I'm looking to see if you can beat it. Otherwise, to get the same price, I can go to the other place. And sometimes the dealers will do it. They want to get the sales. They want that extra sale for that month. Now, next thing you can do is actually, once you get that price, once you get that best price that you have, you can go to the dealership, right? And now, one thing the dealership will like to do, if you go in there blindly, or sometimes even if you just go in there and show them the internet price, they'll still sit down with you and they'll basically do a 4-square sheet with you. Now, when I go to the dealership, I tell them I don't want to do 4 squares. I don't want to play 4 squares. So let's talk numbers. Let's talk bottom line. Let's talk about best out of the door price. This is what I already discussed. But let's say you did not research. Now you're going in and you tell them, hey, I want to buy this car. And they'll sit down and they'll say, okay, let's talk about it. And they'll have a sheet that says, 4 squares. On that 4 squares, the 4 squares basically has 4 questions, such as trade-in value, price of vehicle, down payment, and monthly payment. They'll ask you if you have a trade-in car and what you think the value is. They will ask you what do you want the price of the vehicle you are buying to be. They will ask what is the down payment you are seeking, and they will also ask what is your monthly budget. So here's the problem with any of this. If the dealer knows your trade-in value, they will be able to mark the car you want to buy accordingly to their favor. So basically, you tell them, hey, I'm looking to get, $5,000 on my trade-in. Well, automatically they know that, okay, well, as long as we give him the $5,000 on the trade-in, we can, pump up the other price and make it into our favor. If they know what price of the vehicle your budget is, if you say, hey, I want a vehicle that's like under $30,000, then they will try to show you that vehicle without the fees and registration, but the end of the price will still end up higher. So they'll basically say, hey, this was right in your budget, you wanted under $30,000, here's a $29,000 car, but then you factor in the registration and the fees and the taxes, and you're like, hey, why is it $34,000? And that's mainly why. If you tell them what your down payment is, they'll do the same, by showing you how much you are paying after your down payment. And lastly, if they know your budget, they will make sure they adjust the price accordingly. So if they know your down payment, they're basically what they're going to say is, okay, yeah, this is $29,000. Oh, but you're putting $3,000 down, so this is really $26,000, after you put $3,000 down. And they'll try to sell it to you that way, and really, that tactic shouldn't work. If it works on you, basically, you're, you're out of your mind. Now, if they know your monthly budget, saying, hey, I want to stick to, no more than $400 a month, they know okay, $400 a month. Hey, this car is going to cost $383 a month. Let's add this and this, and we can make it $395 a month and still be under his budget. Or sometimes what they'll do is they'll show you longer payment terms if it's not. So something that was like $425 or something dollars, they'll say, hey, we'll do 76 months of financing, and this is what it looks like. And that doesn't really, help you, or they'll show you higher interest rates. Anything that really works in their favor. So I'll talk about the interest and payments at the end of the podcast. So stay tuned for that. Now, dealers will talk about the MSR pricing. But really what you want to know is their invoice pricing. Now, most dealers won't show you that because it is backdoor information. And sometimes if they do show it to you, it's not going to be fully true, because some dealers get cars in bulks, and whatever they get on the invoice versus what they actually paid is not fully accurate. But your goal is to get as low as possible, right? So with all the fees and registration and tax included, it is a good baseline, but obviously you want to try to get as low as you can. Now, going forward, before you even continue talking about any money or anything, you should really test drive your car. So before you actually sit down and start going through all the paperwork, test drive the car. Test drive the exact car that is going to be negotiated. You want to make sure it has the same package and everything that you talked about. You look at the window sticker. Does the MSRP match up to the original MSRP before they gave you the discounts when you researched it? It should line up. Maybe if they're giving you like a pearl white color that has like $500 extra, that might be there, as you'll have that discrepancy. But everything else, if you have package C, D, and E, you want to make sure that this also has package C, D, and E. The MSRP really should stay the same, or somewhat of the same, so that way you're comparing apples to apples. So the other reason why you want to make sure that you test drive the car is exactly see the features and packages, because sometimes you'll notice small things like, oh, this does not have automatic headlights, or this does not have all-weather floor mats, or features like heated seats and your choice of entertainment system. It's probably not there. And sometimes you'll notice after you test drive the car how the price is not really worth of the car, and it may encourage you to negotiate even more. It's kind of gives you a little bit more confidence, and that's what you really want. You want to really be confident. You don't get nervous. You're walking in, and basically they're trying to get a sale from you, but don't let them walk on you. You want to make sure that the price you got earlier from TrueCar and the car you are test driving have the same MSRP, so that way you're comparing apples to apples. You want to make sure they have the same packages. Just make sure that you're doing your homework and you're getting all these things right. Take your time. Don't rush into it. They'll try to rush you into it. Obviously, they're trying to make a sale. You don't want to rush yourself into it, because you can overlook something and you'll definitely miss something, and then once you come up to the paperwork, you'll probably miss it. So after test driving it, sit down and discuss the best out of the door price. If it's already discussed and you're happy with it, that's fine. But if you want to keep talking, you want the bottom line number. Nothing before all the fees. Your numbers you want the bottom line number, nothing before all the fees. Your number is focused on what you are paying at the end of the day. So you can't just have an MSRP and a discount, because fees and registration tax and everything, it's just, you have to add those in. You're still paying for that, and the higher the MSRP, the higher the tax is going to be. Obviously it really is different on all the states here, but similar concept throughout. If you do this, you can save quite a bit of money. It all really starts with researching, and that is when you truly find out what the best deal is. Don't be afraid to stand up and walk away. The dealers will either come back, or you can find a better deal somewhere else. But really be realistic. You can't expect like 50 or 75% off the car, because that's not really, they're not going to give you the car. I've had variants of between 11-12% to 15 to 20%. It really depends on the car. Some dealers, mark the car down. They'll give a huge discount. Like you go to Ram, Dodge, or Chrysler, those come heavily discounted right off the bat, and that's because they know that these cars depreciate, and the only way they can sell these cars is to really get the price down. With like Toyota, Honda, it's really hard to really negotiate the same amount as like a Dodge or a Ram or Chrysler, is because they know what they have. It's a reliable vehicle, right? So they know that people are going to pay for it. So one thing you want to do before you finalize a deal is a UO. And what that is basically a small list that says what you want before the car is ready. And this is something that you've agreed on already. So what I usually like is my car to look really clean from the back, right? So I ask for the dealer sticker to be taken off. I'll still ask for the license plate cover, but I don't want the dealership sticker on the car. I just want a clean look. I typically get the dealer to put in a car starter. So if I negotiate that in, or if I don't, I try to, I want the dealer to put the car starter in if it doesn't already have one. There are many reasons for that. Sometimes it's really, I've noticed it really costs the same when I go with the dealer and negotiate it, or if I go somewhere else. If I go to the dealer, I know that the manufacturer, someone from Toyota has put that in, or someone from Honda, or the dealer has put that in. So even though they subcontract that out, but even with that said, it's I get that into my UO, and that way I can really track down, okay, this is on paper now. I don't have to worry about, he said, she said, and have it verbally, right? So I typically get the dealer to do to put the car starter, so I negotiate that in. Other thing you can negotiate, or if you've already negotiated, like cargo mats, if it doesn't already come with one. Anything that was not in writing should be in writing, right? So UO becomes a bit more prominent on used cars, but is really exists for new cars as well. For used cars, it's like oil change before you take vehicle, or clean the car, or whatever it is. If there's like a ding or scratch, whatever you agree upon, put it in the UO, and that way it's in writing. You guys are mutually agreeing to it, and I believe that's the spot where to put it. You don't want to put it where you're negotiating the pricing. You want to make sure you discuss it, but put in the UO. When it comes to warranties, and when you're dealing with the accountant, they're gonna try to do the upsells. I don't typically go for them, since most of them cost more than actually doing the service somewhere else, such as wheel protection or fabric protection. But it's truly up to you. I know some people that had bought wheel protection and they got their money's worth. Just know that this is also where dealers can recoup their money. Most, if not all, new car dealerships make their money on service and very little on the car sale. The more cars they get on the road, the more cars will come to do the service. Now, some of these dealerships, manufacturers are offering 2 years or 3 years of complimentary service, and what that does is that gets the vehicles to the dealers more. So even though you don't have to pay anything, it kind of brings you back, because they're trying to sell you a service, and if you like it, they really want you to come back, and really they get that reimbursed from the manufacturer. So it's a win-win for you and them. Now let's talk about payments, right? So when it comes to payments, you have options. You can buy it with cash, or you can finance it. When you're buying with cash, sometimes the dealers don't really like it because they're not really making any money from interest. But you know what? If you're getting a good deal, and you don't have to tell them that you're going to pay with cash or finance it from the beginning. You can tell them at the very end, because the price of the car is the price of the car. It doesn't matter what way you're paying it. Now, when you're financing it, don't keep your options limited to what the dealer gives you. They're not always going to be truthful on the interest rate that they give you. Sometimes the interest rate that they give you is like a loan from the dealer itself, not the manufacturer, the dealer itself. They'll get some banks and stuff, and usually they show you the interest rate that is more profitable for them. But what I recommend is try credit unions. Most advertise their rates right on their website, so you don't really have to go there, but if you are interested, you can go and get a pre-approval. Just remember, most credit unions have conditions such as like a 20% down payment on the vehicle. So if hey, I want to get a $50,000 car, and they're going to say, well, you're going to have to put $10,000 against it, and we'll give you a $40,000 loan. It really depends sometimes on your credit and on your income. It goes through all that. Your income to debt ratio. Some dealers offer credit straight through the manufacturer. Now I know Toyota does 0% sometimes for some cars, and Honda does around 1%. And these are great. I've bought a Toyota using the 0%, and I've put zero money down, and I just make the monthly payments. It brings up my credit score because I'm making the payments on time, and I'm not really losing money or anything because I'm not really paying any interest. I'm just paying for the car. So 0% percent down, $0 down, 0% interest. I think that's a way to go. But you're not going to get that everywhere. But manufacturers offers are fine too. Just remember that something that the dealer offers you, if you're in a rush and you're like, what, I'm just gonna get the manufacturer or the dealer's interest rate. I don't care if it's like 10 or 11%. I'll just refinance it. I just need a car. Well, refinancing can have a hard hit on your credit score. So don't think that you can really get that right away, because refinancing it right away will not only hurt your credit score, but you also have the conditions that the credit union has if you're going to refinance with them, and they'll ask you to pay a bigger money down towards the vehicle, so that way they're covered. So again, it's research, communicate, test drive, and then negotiate. I feel like it's pretty simple. I'm sure many of you are going to have questions. There's different ways to buy a used car. I'm not going to go into that in this episode. But if you have questions, let me know. I'll probably do a separate episode. If you guys want me to, let me know. You have to look at the car condition, value, etc. It's a whole different topic. And also leasing, whole different topic. Definitely going to do one on that. It's a whole different scenario, whole different way of actually doing the math. But it actually can be better. It can be worse. It really depends on the situation for each individual. I know many of you are going to have questions. Why buy a car then lease? I'm going to discuss that. I'm going to have Dave on. We're going to discuss buying and leasing. He has a lot of experience in leasing. I have a lot of experience in buying, and I'm actually looking into leasing in the future. I've helped lease vehicles as well, but at the same time, there's pros and cons for each. So I'll get into that in the future. But if you have any questions for how to buy a new car, whether it's payments or negotiating test drives, whatnot, hit me up. I don't mind answering. Thank you guys for listening.